job market will be redefined. So we've always thought of a job market in a very local way. And based on the fact that we now understand how remote organizations can operate, I think we'll be able to hire people across the world. So the spaces that you'll look for skill will be totally different.
The purpose of the meeting is to combine our thinking together to think about the effects that this virus has had on the working world, and in particular on us at Investec, and some of the things that we've had to do to adjust the working place and the mindsets of our people to deal with it. So we've got a real combination of brains, if you like, on how to think about what this means for us and what this epidemic is going to mean for the world of work into the future. Let's look into the future, people, and let's think about when we get back to normal, in inverted commas, normal. It won't be normal ever again. You know, people have said there was the time before the virus, and then there'll be the time after the virus, and it won't be the same time. So I want you to dream into the future. For example, one that is so obvious, you don't need to be in our field to see this: flexible working. I mean, flexible working is, when we return, flexible working will be so much easier. And you can see that the infrastructure for it, the mindset for it, the ability to work from home, to accommodate one's familial responsibilities with one's work responsibilities and balance those, are going to be easier, not only to negotiate, but just in terms of general acceptance. So that's a win for the future. Nikki, what do you think? What are you thinking about in the future?
A very specific point, even within my own specialization, will be the job market will be redefined. So we've always thought of a job market in a very local way. And based on the fact that we now understand how remote organizations can operate, I think we'll be able to hire people across the world. So the spaces that you'll look for skill will be totally different. And the second thing in the recruitment front that I think will be changed forever is our definition of capacity. We think in a very linear way around recruiting permanent individuals into permanent jobs. And I think this will force us to leapfrog all of that research that's been happening and to really think in a way that we understand our own internal capability. We can match them to pieces of work.
Something that I believe we will get out of this is that FaceTime will become sacred again. I think going back into the office out of this situation, people will be a lot more focused on giving each other space in a discussion. I think people are learning that you could be attentive to a conversation in a very different way than we used to be. You know, we heard the comments about people getting a chance to speak, people being more aware about creating a real thinking space. I think people will start to realize that these FaceTime meetings, it's so important to our culture, is actually very important, and that we could get a lot more value out of them versus the way we've gone about it in, before. I think we weren't always thoughtful about it, and that's going to change.
There's also something about the culture that will move. This is a very production and delivery orientated organization, but working like this is forcing us to check in with each other a little bit before we go to the task of the delivery. And I would be very happy to see that continue after Corona. Just something else that I've noticed is, because we can't concentrate for extended periods of time on this, I think we sometimes get things done in a shorter period of time, and we use our time more effectively working in this virtual fashion than sitting in a long meeting at the office.
Do you think that the relationship and the conversation we have with client is already starting to change? So the bankers are having to have very different conversations with their clients, and what they're learning and what they're looking out for and how they're connecting is certainly something that is going to shift significantly, and that's what the new world is going to ask for.
So some of the fundamentals and the old thinking around time in the office being the value to people versus output, And I think this has helped us. It's totally disrupted a lot of that archaic thinking, because leaders have been forced into a new realm and a totally new context. And what's interesting for me is I think a lot of the things that we were drip feeding at a theoretical level and at a research level from our own perspective to get leaders to think differently about these concepts, I think their minds have been blown. And I don't think the context of how they were operating will ever be the same again. And so there are some very positive unintended consequences that have come through this. Our leave policy is perfectly positioned right now in the way that people are working. Are they taking leave? Aren't they taking leave, etc.? I'm saying, who cares really right now? Leaders should be only caring about value contribution.
I was going to say that particularly working for a financial services organization where, you know, there's always a request for the answer quite quickly. Tell me what I need to do. I think and I hope that one of the things that comes out of this is that people are more comfortable with being uncomfortable and more okay with sitting in that space of discomfort.
I'm really proud of being part of Investec now, not just because of how we've responded to this crisis and looked after our people, but because of our thinking before. Our culture's primed us to be so perfectly attuned to being a remote organization, and the flat structure enables such a high level of being able to navigate this remote working. And I feel so like we were part of a 21st century organization, always in our narrative and in our culture. And even in the way we've dealt with leave and dress recently, we were anticipating this world, not this crisis, but this world.